All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a fight where every single minute counts, against a threat that's worth billions of dollars. And yeah, it sounds like something out of a movie, but this is happening for real, right now, in a place you probably wouldn't expect, and it has everything to do with the food on your plate.
You know, this might sound a little weird to say, but it's the absolute truth. In the super complex, high-stakes world of modern farming, there is a very clear hierarchy. Some animals are just, well, they're more important than others.
And right at the top of that pyramid, you find animals like these. Now, these aren't just any old pigs. The industry calls them grandparent stock. The best way to think of them is like living, breathing genetic blueprints. They are the original source code for the entire pork industry. And keeping that source code safe and sound, that is a massive, multi-billion-dollar problem.
So, that brings us to the villain of our story. A tiny, invisible threat that carries a gigantic price tag, and it's aimed squarely at these incredibly valuable animals.
It's called PRRS, and honestly, it is an absolute nightmare for farmers. It's a super contagious virus that just rips through a farm, causing huge reproductive problems in sows and really bad respiratory sickness in other pigs. Now, for any regular farm, that's bad news, but for one of these elite genetic farms, an outbreak is a complete and utter catastrophe.
So let's break down why the damage is so immense. It really comes down to three things. First, you lose the genetic assets themselves. The whole foundation of the supply chain gets shattered. Second, the financial stakes are just sky high because each one of these animals is worth a fortune. And third, the virus is so sneaky. It gets passed down from the mother to her piglets, which creates this awful, never-ending cycle of infection that can cripple a farm for years.
Okay, so if it's that bad, why can't we just, stop it? Well, that's where the clock starts ticking. This is a race against time, and this virus, it has speed on its side.
Now, I know this slide looks a little technical, but the key takeaway is actually pretty simple. This virus spreads unbelievably easily. PRSV is shed through pretty much everything: saliva, nasal fluids, blood, even semen. All it takes is simple contact, which means in a crowded farm environment, it just spreads like wildfire.
And here is the fundamental problem, the mismatch that's at the heart of all of this. The old way to confirm you have an infection is to send a sample off to a lab. But that takes anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to get a result. In that time, a virus that spreads in a matter of hours has already done devastating damage. It's basically like finding out your house is on fire a full day after it's already burned to the ground.
But what if you could spot the spark before it turned into a massive inferno? That's where a really powerful piece of technology comes in and completely changes the game.
It's called PCR, a term I think we're all pretty familiar with these days. And you can think of it like a superpowered genetic searchlight. See, it doesn't wait around for the animal's immune system to react, which can take days. No, it goes right in and finds the virus's own genetic material, its RNA, letting you detect an infection at the absolute earliest moment possible. So, using this amazing tech, experts came up with a clear roadmap to totally wipe the virus out of a farm. It's a really strategic four-step process. You load the farm with new animals, then you close it down completely for about 200 days, then you monitor everything constantly with weekly PCR tests, and finally you stabilize by making absolutely sure the new generation of piglets is virus-free. It's a solid plan on paper, but it still has that one huge vulnerability.
That whole plan still hinges on that time lag, that waiting period for an outside lab. And that leads to this really game-changing question. What if the lab wasn't days away? What if it was just a few feet away?
And this is where things get really cool. This is where innovation steps in to take that powerful lab technology and put it right where it's needed most, on the farm itself.
And here it is. Meet the Pocket Central System. This thing is, and I mean this literally, a lab in a box. It's a fully automated machine that can run those incredibly sensitive PCR tests right there in the barn office.
The real genius of this machine is just how simple it is. It's completely automated. You put a sample in, you get a result out. That's it. This makes it so accessible that anyone on the farm staff can use it. No PhD required. But don't let the simplicity fool you. It uses lab-grade technology for incredible accuracy. And because a machine is doing the work, it pretty much eliminates the risk of human error.
So what does having this lab in a box actually mean in the real world? Well, it all comes down to one magic number. It all comes down to an 85-minute advantage.
Just take a look at this comparison. A traditional lab test, it's super sensitive, but it takes days. A rapid antigen test is fast, sure, but it's not very sensitive, which means you can easily miss an early infection. But Pocket Central, it gives you the best of both worlds.
You get the super high sensitivity of a proper lab, but you get it right there on site, with the result in about 85 minutes.
85 minutes. That number changes everything. This is the golden window. That's enough time to get a definitive, lab-quality answer before a single sick animal gets moved, before any contaminated product is used, before the virus even has a chance to spread. This completely flips biosecurity from being reactive to being proactive.
And just look at the data from the farms that are already using this. It's just stunning. We're seeing a 95% jump in their confidence about biosecurity, a 90% improvement in how fast they can make critical decisions, and an 85% improvement in actually stopping the risk of an outbreak. I mean, this isn't just theory. This is a real-world revolution in action.
And this quote from the source material really just says it all. Semen distribution or animal movement can be halted in real time. That right there, that is the incredible power you get when you shrink the time to get an answer from days down to just minutes. It puts the control right back in the hands of the producers.
So, as we wrap this up, it really leaves you with a much bigger thought, right? I mean, yeah, this is a story about protecting pigs, but the principle behind it is universal. If a lab in a box can safeguard the very foundation of our food supply, just imagine what other global challenges we could solve by bringing powerful technology like this directly to the point of need. You know, from human healthcare in remote villages to environmental monitoring out in the wild, the possibilities are just truly transformative.